To start off in Adobe Illustrator. Um, this is um, an example of what you are actually doing. So this is actually a PDF of the original poster that I've made. Um, and when I exported it, I had it add the crop marks automatically. Um, Essentially what this Illustrator file is two tabloid-sized artboards stacked on one another, and they overlap by 1/2 inch. So if you want to have a lot more control over where your poster is placed and where it's cut off, this might be a good method for you. The way I set this up is I did File and New, and I went through some of these different document settings. So the number of artboards is at 2. The spacing is usually the spacing between the artboards. Instead of having an actual space between the artboards, I made it a negative spacing. So these are actually overlapping by 1/2 inch. Um, it's one column, so that means that the artboards are stacked like so. The size is tabloid, and I changed the orientation to landscape mode. You don't need a bleed because you've already got a bleed on your PDF that you brought in. Um, so make sure it's in CMYK, 300 pixels per inch. Everything else looks good, so I'll just click OK. Now I'm going to quickly go over into InDesign and just show you how I exported this file. If you've already been working in Illustrator, then you can just have your poster in here, and I'll show you how that would work in a second. But let's say I've been working in InDesign. Um, in here, I've got my backgrounds and all the shapes that go to the edge of the poster extending to the bleed line, so that's that red line. Everything else in place. So to save this out as a PDF, I'm going to go to File and Export, and then change the format to PDF for print. And I've already saved it before as Grid 2, so I would save that. And then when I get these settings, I've only got that one poster, so the page range is right. I want to make sure the preset is at high quality, and then I want to go to the marks and bleeds window and just make sure that you have crop marks selected, so that'll automatically put crop marks into your document. I also want to make sure I include the bleed, so I have that box selected. It automatically puts that 6-point bleed all the way around the poster. So I save that out. And this, I have it set to automatically open in Acrobat so I can see what it looks like, and it looks good. So now I'm going to go into Illustrator and bring in my PDF. So I'm going to go to File and Place and find Poster Grid 2 PDF. And it'll ask you how you want to bring it in. I'm doing crop to media, so it includes the bleed and the crop marks that I have. And then it places it in. And since this is showing me the two tabloid sheets of paper that this is going to be printed on, I can just move the poster around so that things get cut off where I want them to be. To make things easier for yourself, you may decide, okay, I don't want any text at any edges of the paper. So, for instance, I've got these 2 lines of type that are in this overlap section. The top, the end of the A is in that section as well. So this might make it a little bit easier. I'm not trying to line up any little tiny parts of text. So if you want a little bit more control, like I said, this is a nice way to do it. So from here, to get this ready to be printed out, all you have to do is go to File and Print. And I obviously don't have this, I'm not doing this on the printer in the print closet, so I'm just going to change the page setup so it'll show you what it looks like for tabloid paper. So down here in the preview, it'll tell you the size of the document and the size of the paper. In terms of the document, it's looking at each one of these artboards. So each one of those artboards is a tabloid sheet of paper, and it's divided over 2. So you can click the arrows and see how each page is going to look. And all you have to do is make sure it says do not scale, have the placement centered, and you print out your 2 pages and then proceed like I showed in class in terms of gluing the 2 halves together and then trimming them out. The other method, let's say you've already got your poster in Illustrator, is to set up the tile feature when you go to print. So this is my document. I already have the artboard set to 13 inches wide by 18 inches high, so this is the actual poster size. There is a bleed included already, so that's in place. And this time when I go to print, I do want the paper size to be tabloid, but instead of saying do not scale, I want to choose the tile option. And so what that does is that breaks down your document into pages or sheets of paper that actually fit into the printer. What you would want to do is change the orientation. So I had to change it to landscape so that way it's only going across 2 tabloid sheets of paper. And then you want to change the overlap. So I would suggest anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. The more overlap you have, the more leeway there is. And you can pretty much overlap it as much as you go as high as you want, as long as you still have space at the top and bottom of the pages that you're printing out on. I think 1/2 an inch should be plenty for you guys if you want to use that size. So from there, you want to add marks and bleeds to this since it's not included in the original document right now. So go to the marks and bleeds option and then click trim marks. So that puts those little crop marks in every corner, and then make sure your bleed is put into place. You don't need to select all these other options unless you want to. It doesn't matter, that's all going to get trimmed off anyway. So that's how you would do it if you're working on your full poster in Illustrator. Now, if you're working in InDesign, it's very similar. I have my poster at the actual size in this document. This time I'm going to go to File and Print. And this print window looks a little bit different. So let's see. I'm going to try to change this to tabloid size if it'll let me. Okay, so I just manually input tabloid, and once again, if you're printing this from um, the normal printer in the printer closet, you wouldn't have to do this. You'd already have a tabloid setting. Um, so the pages, I only have the one page, and the scale needs to be at 100%, so I'm leaving that as is. Um, Page position, I'm going to go ahead and change that to centered, and then I want to select the tile option. So once again, right now it's trying to tile it over 4 pages. I just want this to shift over 2, so I'm going to change the orientation to um, landscape, and you can make adjustments to the overlap if you want. So that's like an inch, do half an inch. And ideally you could get this centered. Let's see. That's okay. I'll just leave that as it is. I'm going to add crop marks, so then it puts in the crop marks. Um, Everything else should be fine left as it is. And then you would just go to print. So that is giving you 3 different options for printing things out. Like I said, the first way in Illustrator gives you more control over where the image is going to overlap and be trimmed. The second option is using your original document size in Illustrator to print from. And then this third option is using just InDesign. So hopefully that's helpful. If you have any specific questions about printing, um, definitely either talk to me or one of the lab assistants who should be able to help you. Thanks.